Welcome to another very exciting session of healthcare entrepreneurship. So, today we are going to talk about where we left in the last class and go from there. Okay. So, let us get started. Okay. So, the next thing which we want to learn is we have talked about product specifications here for a while, which are basically the technical specs, and we have also talked about product features to some extent. So, it is now time to differentiate between what a product specification is and what a product feature is, right. So, product specifications are typically from an available technology perspective, they are all technical data points or technical details about a particular product. The product features instead are from an end user perspective. So, product features is what you would understand based on your value propositions. So, your value propositions may not guide the technical details which this particular product should have, but your value proposition will guide the end user perspective and the product features which this particular product should have. Product specifications are usually the outcome of architecture phase of the product design and the development process. So, while we go through the different modules of design and development through this course, we would come across the technical details, the tangible details. Tangible is something which you can touch and feel essentially for the products, and testable details. So, based on these three aspects, technical, tangible and testable, you would come across with the product specifications. So, just going back to any kind of biosensor, you would want the technical details into this biosensor, that how much of a exposure to a particular kind of chemical which you are trying to test needs to be happening, what kind of chemicals can it respond to, what are the details and the sensitivity, specificity, is this tested like across so many participants and whatnot. So, these are some of the details which comes into the product specifications, right. So, one very classic example is for a TV, for a television basically, you would usually have a television specs like it should be of the size of 65 inch, right, or 75 inch or 45 inch, and it should have a resolution of something by something, right. So, that is typically how you would mention a product specifications. So, let us talk about product features. So, product feature is basically the outcome of the customer discovery and the marketing research. So, many a times there are features which you leave out during the customer discovery phase, and something which you do find out during the marketing phase, where a lot of the things come back at you and you realize that the product needed to be looking a little better, or it needed to be more sleek or easy to use and so forth, right. So, they become form of this product features. Product features are typically non-technical. So, you are not looking at numbers or units, they are non-tangible, typically you cannot touch and feel them. So, if you just say the product is comfortable, it does not mean you can touch and feel the level of comfort. So, they are features, feature points like that, and they are not testable because it is a little bit subjective in the sense that if you say this product is comfortable, the meaning of comfort may be very different from one person to another, right. So, these are the product features usually come from your value propositions and kind of gets validated and iterated as a part of the market research later on, right. So, an example of product feature is for an LCD display kind of a TV, very similar in the lines of the TV example. It is the consistency of colors, clarity at wider viewing angle. So, this is not a technical specification, but this is a feature. You would want to have the TV colors being consistent. You do not want the viewers to think that one side of the TV looks a little bit more colorful than the others. You want, for example, the sound to be balanced kind of, right, and you should have a wider viewing angle. It should look like you are looking at the real. So, these are some features which have come along, and you will see a lot of these display qualities and things have changed over time. Now, when you look at a TV, it is almost like you are interacting with the real world, right. So, these are features rather than technical specs, right. So, hopefully, this slide was able to differentiate between the product specs and the product features. Let us go further. So, product feature basically describes the product from the end user perspective. These features typically include USPs or the unique selling points and the product differentiators. So, specifically like the value propositions only, features may not be technical, tangible, implementable or testable, right. So, an example here is the is of a cake. So, if you are looking at the icing on the cake, but not the cake itself, that icing is basically a feature. So, when you are looking for a cake, you would think of, can this be customized? Customization is a feature. Can this have an icing? That is a feature. Can this have a range of colors or range of flavors? That is a feature. Technical specs for this cake would be, what is the size of the cake, what is the weight of the cake, what are the different layers of the cake, what the specific layers should have, specific ingredients, the measurements of those ingredients. So, hopefully that helps you further understand what a product feature is and what a product spec is. Okay. So, let us take an example of a product in the healthcare space, which is a smartwatch named Halo. So, I would like you to just spend the next 5 or 10 seconds on this slide, and then I will explain that. So, typically what this device basically envisions to do, and this is part of one of the projects which did a customer discovery as a part of a similar healthcare startup bootcamp. They wanted to come out with a portable device which is specifically targeting certain healthcare aspects which are not currently covered by other smartwatches like Apple Watch and Fitbit and so many other watches out there, right. So, let us read it out, what are the key details here. So, at an older age, personal visits to the doctor for health vital checkups become cumbersome. So, this is the first important aspect which they wanted to look at. Moreover, traditional health report formats are difficult to understand, and the elders have to seek help of professionals to understand them, right. So, one is you don't want to visit the doctor very often for vital checkups and small issues with your health. However, you would like to meet a doctor in order to really translate the reports for you whenever you have some kind of a checkup or some kind of tests being conducted, because most of these are incomprehensible for majority of the elder population specifically, right. So, their idea was Halo acts as a portable multi vital tracker. So, very uniquely marketed, it is only a vital tracker which initiates accurate continuous vital monitoring process the moment it is worn on the wrist. So, as soon as you wear this on your wrist, it is an auto start and it starts recording the different important vitals. This is the unique feature of Halo. Health vital data at any instant can be accessed, which gets displayed in a very user friendly format for easier understanding. Based on the clear health vital data received, the user makes more confident decisions for the betterment of health. So, these are the initial features or initial ideas around the Halo framework, right. So, the Halo is this new proposed smartwatch, and these are some of the key product features. I wanted to just focus on the vitals, and some of the vitals I can see here as our heart rate, sleep counter, gyroscope, a blood pressure monitor, SpO2 monitor, and body temperature monitor. So, you may think many of these are already offered by Apple watches and so many watches, but if you look at most of these watches, smartwatches out there in the market, they are catering to so many different aspects. They have mobile based, like phone calling, they you could get notifications for your particular job details or meetings, and there are so many other features along with the health side, vital tracking specifically, you have medicine reminders and so many other things. Halo wanted to specifically focus on the vital space, that can you just continuously monitor the vitals, so that you can completely get rid of like thermometers or glucometers or like the SpO2 monitoring, so that once you wear this you can get continuous vital monitoring, right. So, this was proposed to be placed in a way that the data analysis or understanding is very simple, catered for fairly elderly population. Also, the next thing considered is, at an older age there are many medicines to be taken, not just for disease but for well-being too. Elders find it difficult to remember the schedule, so they are also trying to incorporate along with the vitals the medicinal reminder aspect, which is also a part of several other smartwatches, right. So, This example of Halo, let us pay attention to, will give us an idea of how to disrupt the market with a new technology within a market which already has several similar technologies. How can we get in? So, Halo was pretty brave enough to look at an existing smartwatch market and try to get a niche. Let's see how they propose to do it, right? So, patients and caretakers must remember to take the medicines already taken and ones to be taken later, which basically adds to the anxiety. This is one something which they found out from the market research. So, what they wanted was a wearable device with a mobile application to set and track the medicine schedule will help both patient and caretaker to be in control of the medicines, right? So, it is not only for the patients, but also for the caretaker. If they have an idea of when what medicines are required, then it is pretty it's a less anxious kind of moment where nobody is really running around and trying to figure out when was the last medicine taken, or when is the next medicine due, right? The next part is the wearable device shall alert the patient on the next medicine to be taken. The mobile app should alert the caretaker too. So, whenever there is a next medicine kind of requirement, it will just alert the patient and the caretaker that this is almost getting close to the time of the medicine, maybe 10 or 15 minutes beforehand of the schedule, right? So, both the patients and caretaker can be at peace with the right medicine consumed at the right time with no scope of any negligence. This may sound to be fairly redundant, but many of us, if we are in certain kinds of medication, majorly if we have elderly people in our family, we would see very often you are like running around trying to figure out whether they have taken this medicine in the morning or not, right? And there could be issues like double or extra dosage. If somebody has forgotten that they have taken a medicine, they take it over again on top of it. So, there could be so many health implications. So, Halo proposes to solve that similar to many other smart devices where they have this add-on feature. So, the other details which Halo wants to have as a product feature includes some certifications with as well, like along with the features. So, they wanted to get some certifications on the heartbeat, blood pressure, step count, SpO2, body temperature. Medicine reminder of course cannot have a certification, but highly accurate and reliable. So, they wanted to get a ISO 13485 C and BIS certified, as well as another thing which they did want was a lot of these smartwatches will give you inaccurate data. So, they will give you all of a sudden wrong blood pressures or wrong temperature measurements. So, Halo wanted to tie up with certain doctors and researchers with at the institutes and basically test their devices with those folks or a big set of subjects in order to have the most accurate vital measurement. So, they wanted to only be in the space of vital measurement and be very accurate and good about it. So, what were some of the product benefits they looked at? A highly accurate medically approved wearable device which you can rely upon. So, this was one of the main pitching point. They wanted to have a highly accurate medically approved wearable device which you can highly rely upon. You do not have to worry whether should I compare my blood pressure with an actual device. Many a times your smartwatches will throw you values which you will have big doubts on, and this happens very often, right? So, there should not be a second thought like whether I need to compare this with some data. So, they will already have some patient data which is as a part of the certificate that this has been tested on 200 or 300 patients, and that will put the users at ease that this is a pretty well validated device. So, that was one of their ideas. Second one was a simple and intuitive interface on device and app which makes an elderly consumers experience seamless throughout. So, they wanted to specifically focus on the elderly population. They wanted to make sure through a set of usability tests which I am going to take up in the upcoming lectures. They wanted to make sure that an elderly person, if given this watch with minimal directions, can they easily use this. This may not be the case with a lot of smartwatches, like even they have medical data details and other these vital measurements, but it may not be very easy to use. So, they wanted to make this interface so easy to use that you cannot go wrong. There is just one or two option, yes or no kind of options, so that you will be able to take your measurements with the maximum ease. specifically built for the elderly population. Only the most important vitals covered to help the consumer focus on the health tracking. This is another very important part. So, many of the smartwatch based companies are trying to extend their horizons, but by looking at so many different biosensors and different extra vitals and things like that, like hydration and things which may not be absolutely necessary for a elderly person. Probably all they care about is the SpO2 measurements, the body temperature and the blood pressure, and maybe something more, like the medicine reminder. So, if these are the 4 aspects, they wanted to focus on this 4 or 6 aspects only. They also wanted to build this very affordably and with minimal aesthetics. So, their idea was they did not want to make this really nice and sleek looking, because majority of the elderly population would not seem to care about it. This is what they found out through their initial customer discovery, that the elderly population just wants something which is easy to use. They do not have to put their brains around too much or ask or bother their children or other family members to really be able to use this. If you look at majority of the smart watches, do try to give it to an elderly person and you will see the difference. They will find it very, very difficult to even install it. And I have seen this through a personal set of experiences. So, this is where they found a gap in the market, that there is not an easy vital specific measurement device in the form of a watch which is highly usable and very easy to learn. So that was the key feature or value proposition they were looking at: ease of use, lot of comfort, and basically accessibility from a standpoint, and also to add to that, an affordable watch which is within a lower cost variant, right. So, typically what they came up with was a low fidelity prototype version. So, fidelity basically means how well does it match or conform to the details which I promised, right. So, low fidelity basically means if my product is A and I am trying to get towards A, I will get through this different phases which I learned through this course, right. Ideation, understanding the market, then doing some customer discovery, understanding value propositions, then the design, prototyping, and then probably the final product with the marketing and sales. So, low fidelity prototype is early in this stage where I have just a fair idea of what the features should be based on my customer discovery, and I just hand draw something just to showcase it to somebody, so that they have an idea what I am trying to get to. So, they did some initial beta testing, like after the customer discovery, with some initial drawings like this of the watch. A few things they have watched out here is basically the curvature of the watch, which you can see here. They started with a square shape versus a little oval shaped to something which is a little square with tapered or filleted edges. So, these were specifically built from the point of aesthetics as well as usability. So, if somebody has, like, if some of the products have very sharp edges, then they may really kind of be detrimental for if it is in touch with the skin or at the edges. So, they wanted to make it kind of sleek and really nice and tapered. So, that was the initial low fidelity prototype. As far as the app was concerned, there were a few things which they wanted as a part of the app and the UI, which is the user interface framework. So, this is typically how a low fidelity prototype looks like. You can just have a flow chart of things or a slide full of things, and you can present this to possible customers or in certain cases some fundraisers, and try to get an idea like whether you can go ahead with raising some seed funds or convincing a customer to give you a feedback, so that you can take this out back to them at a later stage once it is fully developed, right. So, typically from their app standpoint, they had 2-3 details, like from the landing page standpoint, they had a little bit of product overview, so that whosoever runs their app should actually know what this product stands for and what are the key features of this product, right. The product offerings and the buy options, that was the next page within the landing page sub page. So, the product offering, what exactly are they offering in terms of vital measurements, and what are the buying options? Can somebody buy it off a particular shop or from a doctor's store or pharmacy, or do they buy it online, or they can pay it through a card number or Paytm, or what exactly can they do? Product reviews. This is another thing. They realize that a lot of public is looking at how this product has been doing initially. So for a startup company like any of ours, like basically we are looking at some initial testimonials from some of the pre-users or early adopters that would serve as the product reviews here, right? Then next is product design and about us or the company basically. So they wanted to give a little bit about the company overview so that they understand what the company stands for, and they are a folks of really good students who are trying to build something for better vital tracking, right? Then there is this login page. Under the login page, a customer can basically sign up. There are web app offerings, and there's a user login. So sign up options could range from emails to registering through a phone where you get an OTP and whatnot. So these are some of the details which have to be laid out while getting the low fidelity prototype in place. Then next is a user profile page, where basically there is a dashboard of current status, basically where the current status of the particular person is in terms of measurements, and they can click on each of this measurement history and get a detail of their vitals, the entire history of the same. Tabular data of the previous recording. So whenever there is a log of the vital, and many of these are continuous logs, they can get a tabular data and as well as a graphical data. Sometimes tabular data is much more useful to decipher things, right? Because you may have a long graph of vital measurement for 20 days, right? You just want to hear the pinpoints that which days out of this 20 days your temperature was beyond an average value, or your blood pressures have shot beyond a certain value, right? So tabular data of previous recordings. Then they needed some sharing network. So can you share by a quick click any kind of data or report with your loved ones? So this is another feature which they wanted to put as a part of the proposal, that just a simple sharing option, and this particular blood pressure tabulated data or graph, all the other vital data gets transferred via email or through WhatsApp message or through a phone message to their loved ones. The next part is result analysis and lifestyle recommendations from the customer data. This is very interesting. They wanted to kind of have some AI kind of platform which basically looks at those results from a long term standpoint. So for example, they have been using this particular device Halo for a month, and they see that their blood pressures are continuously in a certain range, and it could mean hypertension to some extent, like if they're very high, and their temperatures are kind of falling and going. So there could be some underlying problems. So they can mention some lifestyle recommendations, that please go for a walk, maybe eat a little bit healthy, and just try to see a doctor every now and then to reduce your blood pressures and whatnot, right? So this is part of the low fidelity prototype version. When did they actually showcase this? So this is during the initial customer discovery space. Like, so during this phase, while they were trying to get some feedback on through an interview or a survey with a bunch of customers, they wanted to also showcase through a single slide what their pages or the idea overall is, right? So maybe the second or third set of interviews during the customer discovery, they can showcase something like this, like a very simple flowchart. And I would encourage all the entrepreneurial teams to do the same, like, in your initial part where you're not developing the whole on app, but just having a flowchart of how the specs would be for the app. So next part was they wanted to kind of transfer this low fidelity, super low fidelity to a version 1, where they have some app screens kind of ideation, where all these flowcharts have gone into some possible screens or details into which, like, how the app would look like, right? So they have a nice logo to start with, which says this Halo logo. Then welcome to Halo, which has sign in, sign up, sign in with OTP, sign in with Google Plus, Facebook. So these are the different options in the landing page. Then the next one is they could sign in with their mobile numbers and the password. just to make sure this is not open to all kind of, they can keep their privacy there. They can sign in with an OTP and then fill in their personal details. So many of these details may be useful for also looking at their lifestyle in general, right? So very minimal details like full name, date of birth, gender, height and weight, that's it, right? And then finally it comes to this page where they have, hi user, your age is this and these are your different measurement windows, like so you have the heart rate, blood pressure, SpO2, the calorie burnt, the number of steps, the sleep cycle, basically how much you had been sleeping, and the temperature. So you click on any of these, you will get the entire history of the vital measurement, as well as you should be able to look at some of the outliers where the blood pressure has shot over a certain level, or vital measurements like temperature has gone up, right? Some better versions and digging into this particular feature. So if you're looking at the heart rate, you would see the BPMs and typically they would turn into red if your heart rates are below or above a certain set of ranges. So depending on your age, if it is shooting up or shooting low, it would basically change the color to red, and that basically means there is something of concern. Similar for this one, blood pressure, like you will have this option of measuring the blood pressure dynamically, as well as there is this overshoot and undershoot, like basically when the color changes to red, right? So from a beta testing standpoint, beta testing is typically the next phase after you have ideated on the product and you have some initial little higher side on the lower fidelity where you have something to show to a customer. You basically do a further customer survey, and so this was conducted across several participants, and these are some generic user personas which they came out, very typical persons which they got an interview from. So let's take a look at a few of these interviews, right? So Mr. H.M. Suthar, age of 70 years, so through customer showcasing of the low fidelity prototype version 1, so that's pretty much the kind of app pictures and everything which they have constructed. By the way, point to be noted, these app pictures which we are looking at the previous slides, these are not exactly from an app. This could be made through on a PowerPoint by drawing in this squares and boxes and bringing in the aesthetics however you would like it, or there are other software such as Figma, and there are some CoboBox and some other technologies which you can use. There are a lot of free softwares out online which you can use to just kind of build the framework of an app. It's not a usable or runnable app, but it just gives the outline or framework. This is sometimes good to showcase like to somebody who will really understand what you are trying to portray, right? So through showcase of this, they have obtained both qualitative and quantitative information below. This is really important during the beta testing. You want to get some qualitative as well as quantitative information. Under the quantitative, the first one is who is buying the product. This may include diverse groups or types of people. So basically what they found out was the caregivers, the patients and the elders are typically interested in this product. So it's not only the elders, it's some of these elders are actually patients and their caregivers are also interested, which are their friends and family basically. So the actual answers were answered by this person himself, like, so this is self. What are the features that are attractive to this particular tester? So accuracy was something this person was typically looking at. They wanted a comfortable belt, and a 30-day battery life was an exciting feature. So they did not want to charge their battery on a day-to-day basis. If you look at many of these smartwatches right now in the market, you have to charge the battery every 2 to 3 days, right? So they wanted something like a 25 to 30-day battery where they do not have to charge, and this is something Halo offered, and they were really happy about it, right? So medicine reminder and blood pressure monitoring was another part like which they were really interested in. So what are the timings of delivery and capability of use? So same day delivery or Amazon like was the initial prediction. This is what they would say based on the persona, but typically what we found out was 2 to 3 days, right? What was the tester's priority for the product? What purchase decisions does the tester want to take? So this particular tester of course did not have anything in hand, so they did not purchase anything. So they were already using other brands. This is something to be noted. So basically you are trying to change their perception or take them from one brand to another, because they have been already using some brands, and of course they are answering to the questions because they are not very happy with the brand features, right. This is something to be tapped. What was the actual revenue from the sale? So definitely no revenue, because nothing was sold, and parts of the beta testing also includes high fidelity prototypes when you do some pre-orders. That's why these questions sometimes will make much more sense in that aspect. So no revenue was generated, but customers typically, what we assumed, or that group assumed, would be willing to pay something up to 5,000 rupees if the said accuracy or the level of accuracy could be provided compared to the other smartwatches, right. But what this person specifically answered was something around 3,000 rupees is what he was looking at. Something beyond that is something he is not willing to pay or not in a position to pay, right. So these are some quantitative numbers, like days or costs. So some of the qualitative factors we can also look at. So accuracy is one of the qualitative factors which they really liked. So and all the features listed in the brochure for the product is something they were looking forward to. What feature or attribute is missing? So they thought that blood sugar measurement was something which was missing, which they have to do right now in an invasive way. So then GUI needs to be more user friendly. GUI is the graphic user interface. So they thought and that maybe the app interface can be even more simplified, that they are just having a few clicks and they can get to the details, right. So that was one of the key feedbacks from these participants. So one of the other answers from this participant was send SOS message and current location for any emergency. This was an add-on feature which they would have liked, very similar to a Apple Watch or any other watches. Heart attack signals, regional language support, functional simplicity coupled with audio, color and vibration. So sometimes many of them have impeded vision, they are not able to see everything clearly on a particular smartwatch. So they would like some audio and some color and some vibration based notifications as well. So these are some feedbacks on top of what was being asked, right. And they had also recommended Braille Lipi for blind. So this particular participant had access to some of the population who were visually impaired, and he wanted an extra feature with some Braille Lipis like also possible. So not all of these the company has to consider, but few of these are nice pointers to look at what are the target segments, right. So the next question was, would the tester purchase the product again? So the customer's response was positive, hoping that if they buy it once, they would probably buy it again or spread a word of mouth. And as they have already mentioned, they're using other brands, so that accuracy component might have to be really good for this product Halo in order for them to adopt this. Okay, the next one is Mr. Paras, age 50. So basically the prediction again was caregiver, patients and elders. His answer specifically was the caregiver would be more interested to buy such a product. He particularly was not very aware of how to use or get this kind of a product really installed and make it to work. So the caregiver would be somebody who makes a decision, purchase decision. So one of the predicted options was accuracy, comfortable belt and 30-day battery life. So this is what again this person really liked between the features, and he liked the part that medicinal reminders and blood pressure measurements were also very useful in a dynamic setting, right. So again 1-2 days delivery was what this person particularly mentioned. He would not like to wait 2 to 3 days or further. So he already has a standalone device, so he doesn't have a smartwatch or any kind of watch per se, but he has different devices like blood pressure monitoring device, he has a thermometer, he has a SpO2 measurement. So he has a lot of standalone devices. So that is what he is typically using, and he could consider this particular smartwatch if all of these features are kind of integrated in. So, he is expecting something around 2500 rupees for this Halo watch, not to pay beyond that. So, he is very happy with all the features listed in the brochure and thinks that they are kind of self sufficient. Some extra additions are parameters for diabetes with average for 3 months cholesterol tracking. So, if there could be some diabetic tracking like and cholesterol tracking, that could be really beneficial. So, these are some add on information which he supplied. Based on his standalone devices, he wanted all of this integration in this particular devices, and he was happy to take the positive response and kind of give a very positive feedback on this particular device. Next one was Mrs. Kusum Bhatia, aged 79 years old. Through customer showcasing of this low fidelity prototype again to this person, this person basically looked at different aspects of the product, the features, and gave several answers. So, what they really found useful was the step count, the medicine reminder, the blood pressure measurement. They were okay to wait for 5 to 6 days. So, this way if we get a lot of responses, we will be able to know the average amount of waiting time which this folks can really be patient on, right. So, many of these elderly population, as you can see, they are very patient people because they have gone through a very different generation where shipping and other things were not that fast. So, this person is okay to have 5 to 6 days for delivery, which basically changes our cost structure of the company, where you need a localized shop to deliver, or you can deliver it from a distant place. That dynamics completely changes, right. So, what this person mentioned is they already have a standalone device for blood sugar measurement, and they have never come across a similar smartwatch which they can wear for measuring so many vitals, and their expected cost is around 2000 to 2500 rupees. They really like the medicinal reminder and the BP measurement aspects. The parameters for cholesterol level and blood sugar have to be having a really high accuracy and to be comparable with their standalone devices. They said they can consider buying once this is launched. This is very early stage for them to really comment on whether they would like to buy or not, unless the product is launched, right. This is another Sumita Bhatia, where again she said that the caregiver is the person who will make a purchase decision, and they also had a similar liking for the blood pressure, step count, body temperature, and the medicine reminder, right. 1 to 2 days was typically what this person was looking at. Already have standalone device for a blood sugar measurement device, right. The expected amount to be paid was 3500 to 4500 rupees. Medicine reminders was something which she found really useful, easy to constantly monitor in case of warning signs through an app. So, then heart attack warning, blood sugar, SOS messages were some of the add-ons which she mentioned, and this kind of correlates with a lot of other similar mentions by the other people. She said again she could consider buying once launched. Okay, so what are the key painkillers and gain creators which were as a part of this customer discovery? So, the first one is convenience. So, basically getting trends of the vitals which would in turn make it convenient for the patients, doctors and caretakers. Trustworthy alternative to reduce diagnostic center and hospital visits for checking and monitoring vital health indicators. So, first step is convenience. Under that we have explained convenience for Halo, exactly how this is going to be convenient, right. So, this is the first painkiller for this particular product. Then from an accuracy standpoint, reducing the error by providing medical or university regulatory approved readings which can be repeatable and reproducible. Very important terms, the readings should be repeatable, readings should be reproducible. Reproducible basically means when I wear the watch and somebody else wears the watch, it should give proper comparative reading, the scale should not change, and these readings should be matched with the original analog based devices which are used out in the industry through some university or a medical regulator who can compare these devices very apple to apple. Risk reduction, diligent tracking of medical prescriptions, preventing health hazards by timely diagnosis, overcome health related anxiety for both patients and caregivers, right. Accessibility wise, making health vital data easily accessible to people, and then have post doctor or clinical visit and data recording by user for future ease of accessibility and reference, right. So, these are some of the details which are components of painkillers. From a usability standpoint, they would like it to be extremely user friendly. Comprehensive health related stats should be visualized, and multilingual interface and reporting is something which majority of the participants would like for the customer discovery. From the gain creator standpoint, this is very new, which includes a continuous tracking of the health indicators of vitals. So, none of the smartwatches in the market does a continuous tracking. So, many of them will give you intermittent tracking when you actually seek like that I want to track it for the next 30 seconds or 20 seconds, because it generates a lot of data and that is difficult for a server to be really handle. So, but this device basically propose continuous monitoring, right. Intuitive for elderly people. So, basically the usability should be highly intuitive. Medicine consumption reminder, diet tracker, device tracking, and good battery life. Device tracking is another thing, like many a times you may have left this device under your pillow or somewhere else. You should be able to track this device from your phone or through some kind of an alarm, right. This happens very often with elderly. They cannot find their keys, or there are several aspects which they are not able to remember or find. So, that device tracking is also there. Fall tracking, especially for elderly people. So, if somebody gets a hard fall, typically that is what is recorded by Apple watches and other watches in the market. This also kind of recorded soft falls whenever using an accelerometer and other sensors, whenever there is a slight motion which is a little above the regular motions, it would consider that to be a fall and basically have a record log, right. So, that is that gives it a better perspective in case like somebody has slipped and fallen down, or there is a fall which is not super hard fall, but can be still fatal. Health vital tracking, report generation between consecutive or periodic doctor clinical visitation periods. So, whenever you are trying to see a doctor, you can have a health vital report generated through this, like by just one click, and this report you can carry or email it to the doctor for a better prescription, right. Suggestions on correct course of action post results. So, there are not only tracking, but it also gives some AI based suggestions like on what is the right course of action. There could be cases when it is said out very loud that please clinically correlate or go visit a doctor, right. Alert system is if data is out of range, and doctors are sometimes intimated, right. So, in certain cases you will have some emergency doctor details and emergency family and friends details, they can be directly intimated. From a design standpoint, again that is a gain creator. It should be durable, lightweight, comfortable, and skin friendly material should be there as a part of the design to be worn throughout the day. So, something most of these watches people will be really reluctant to wear, and I have seen this with several elderly folks. You have gifted this nice watch to them, they will wear it for 1 or 2 days, then you would not wear it for a month because it is itchy, the material is not very good to wear, you would not like to wear it like all through the day. So, if the material can be made really comfortable, then basically with certain regulatory ratings, then it can be worn in a lightweight setting where you do not even feel like you are wearing a watch. So, that was the idea behind Halo. Getting the job done. So, it easily identifies the majority of the healthcare problems through the vital tracking and assesses the well-being and motivates people for making lifestyle changes as well. So, all this together forms the gain creators. So, this is the business model canvas to look at. So, from a value proposition standpoint, we are looking at affordable wearable device for tracking healthcare vitals. This is the first value proposition, affordable. Second is accurate and reliable data. So, accuracy is the second value proposition. Reminders for medications at the proper intervals during the day. So, this is one of the gain creators or painkillers, you could say, majorly gain creators. So, which is basically reminders for medication. So, it is convenience and from convenience aspect. Emergency notifications. So, this is also the accessibility aspect, as well as this is a huge painkiller where somebody can have a soft fall, and basically that forms part of the value proposition. Who are the key customer segments based on this customer discovery and beta testing steps? Caregivers and people with comorbidities. So, lot of elderly population who have possible comorbidities are the major focus groups, and caregivers are the other ones who are the going to make the purchase decisions, right. So, rest of the details we are going to just see here for a moment, but majority of this is not the focus area, because right now we are just trying to focus towards the value proposition and customer segments. Okay. The next example is an app based service. So, we have talked about a product, let us talk about a service which is eMediVault. So, the key idea for this eMediVault was for individuals and health professionals to have a central repository of healthcare records. So, within an app system, if you can have all the healthcare records, all the prescriptions, all the test records within a single system, they thought this might be really useful for not only the patients, but also the healthcare service providers, because otherwise you are just running around to look for your hard copy of your prescription or some test results which you may have forgotten in your car or whatnot. So, this was the idea. So, the idea was to have a full accessibility for the patients, hospitals as well as registered health professionals. This was supposed to host varied documents such as prescriptions, discharge papers, personal medical information. Documents will be shared in an encrypted, secured manner, and patients will have absolute control on it, because many a times when you have healthcare records, you want to be a little careful and privacy basically sets in, right. So, the initial hypothesis or benefits which they have looked at from a value proposition standpoint is this is beneficial to hospitals to access the patient's medical history and provide better care during any emergency. So, this is number one. Shorter turnaround time for inter-hospital transfers. So, there are cases where certain very specific accidents or injuries or some kind of diseases cannot be handled by the hospitals they are currently getting treated in. They have to be probably transferred to a different hospital. So, typically what happens is you go with all the prescriptions, all the data, you have to explain the cases again. If you could easily transfer this information over email or WhatsApp or in a common repository, then the doctor and other people would have already been prepared like before the patient transfers, right. So, this was a great addition in terms of value creation. Individuals can monitor their medical history on a centralized location. So, this also gives an individual a lot of control to monitor their medical history, because you may forget what was my particular cholesterol level like 2 years back or 1.5 years back, was it high or was it in the right place, what was my blood pressure level like 3 years back. So, these kind of data nobody really remembers, you have to dig in all the information. So, this kind of repository helps you to really track your health for the last 5 years or 10 years or so forth. And this was also ideated to have a repository for insurers. So, many a time we have all faced it, you are trying to have a claim of insurance, sometimes cashless or sometimes reimbursement after a surgery of your loved ones, and you are basically sitting there all through the day trying to get the claim processed, and you will not get discharged unless that activity is finished and you get a final payment from the insurer. So, many a times what happens is they will put several objections into what the hospital has provided in terms of the entire bills and whatnot. So, what you end up doing is it is a matter of huge inconvenience. You spend your entire day trying to fight with the insurance providers and figure out how your claims can be met before the patient is discharged. So, if this kind of a platform through eMediVault can have a repository of all the information for the insurers, then this could be beneficial for those insurance agents to quickly process a claim, right, in case of an emergency and whatnot. So, some of the pain points which was faced with eMediVault initially was concerns and reservations from the target audience to share medical data. This is something we all are a little reluctant on, and collaborations with hospitals, insurance and caregivers might be tricky. This was another aspect raised by a lot of end users and customers, that if you want to collaborate with hospitals which are already so overburdened, they may not be really interested to take up this service because they just have so much going on. In order to implement something completely new in the pipeline might be very tricky. So, the first iteration was with the hypothesis digitized medical documents repository provides ease of access to individuals, hospitals and other stakeholders in the healthcare industry. So, ease of access is the value proposition point, and the target customers initially interviewed includes individuals, hospitals and other stakeholders. One of the stakeholders key ones were the insurance agents, right. So, the experiment was to reach out to the potential customers to validate the pain points identified by us by sharing a questionnaire with them using Google Forms. So, they wanted to have a comprehensive set of questionnaires, and responses were basically then analyzed. So, the following slides are going to summarize the need for storage and retention of medical documents as highlighted by the individuals, hospitals and other stakeholders. So, the iteration is justifying the target audience and the proposed product features. So, there were total of 110 responses received from individuals based on surveys sent out to almost 250 plus. One of the key relevant question along with the other generic question was the end user comfortable in sharing the medical documents, because this is one of the major bottlenecks which we saw as a part of the Halo project. So, some of the questions, let us read them out very quickly. Do you ever lose your test results and prescription? So, 60% of this 110 responses said yes. Okay. So, 40% are doing just fine. Do you have your medical insurance card or details handy? For the most part, 61.8% said no. So, most of the times of emergency, these folks who are majorly have been patients, or they have had patients from their loved ones. So, they did not have their insurance cards or medical records handy when there was an emergency. Do you maintain a folder to file your prescription test results? Majority of them do, I think 55%, but still a huge group actually does not. So, 55% actually said no. I would just like to repeat that, and 45% said yes. So, majority did not actually have a file. That is interesting. How many years of your test results, prescriptions have you saved at home? So, 66.3% said no, they have never saved a test result at home. So, think about data getting lost so easily. It has been a year and a half, you have totally lost your records. When you visit the doctor for a second opinion on a diagnosis, how long does it take you to find your existing test results, prescriptions related to the same diagnosis? 59% said more than 15 minutes. That is a really long time. When you have to take a second opinion, means there is some level of emergency and you are trying to get the right opinion and right answer before maybe a surgical treatment or before admitting somebody. If it is taking 15 minutes along with the anxiety level, it is a lot, right. So, they are actually pinpointing on the key questions here and trying to understand the feedback from 110 participants here for the survey. Do you find it hard to claim your medical insurance despite submitting all the required documents? 64.5% said yes. That specifically indicates that how difficult it is to claim an insurance, and we have all faced it. We know what we are talking about here. Do you find it old school and tiring to submit the hard copies of your documents via the post to the insurers? So, sometimes you have to get all the signed stamps while getting a reimbursement, and you have to kind of send them over through a hard copy through some tracking, and you do not know when they will be processed. So, 81% said like they are not really happy with this. So, as far as the hospitals were concerned, they only received 3 responses. So, from the administration which processes such documents, in case of an emergency case, the first question is how much time does it take for you to gather the patient's medical information, right. Typically 100% said like it was pretty quick, like as far as the hospital administration was concerned. Do you find it difficult to share patient information and case papers outside of your system? For example, while sharing the documents with the insurers or the other hospitals for patient transfers. 66.7% said yes. So, transferring the knowledge to an insurer and other transfers is actually a challenge to the hospital administration as well. So, the 2 target segments, but the most responsive was the individuals, right. Then they had also reached out to the insurers, but not with very good responses. So, they basically got from the hospital segment just 3 responses, so not very conclusive. From the Individual segment, they got quite a bit of strong potential leads, like 57% had very definitive answers and 43% not very definitive, and we have kind of talked about what the answers were. So, the iteration 2 was based on the survey responses, the digitized medical documents repository appears more individual centric. So, what they found out through their initial first week of hypothesis or survey, that this sounds like something the hospital administration is not very interested in or probably will not be in a position to pay them for this business idea, but at an individual level this may be something which they can monetize on, right. So, this is backed by 55% strong potential leads, more than that at this stage, with a potential to cover wider audience over time. So, if they take more and more surveys and bigger surveys, maybe this 55% may go up to 60, 65 or even more, right. So, the experiment here was to analyze the survey responses through weighted average approach and figure out the potential strong as well as the weak contacts. So, basically they looked at individuals, the sample sizes were 110, and of course, the insurers had no responses. So, results were majorly positive. So, the next steps was basically they wanted to chase the insurers for their response and to collect the data. Still, from strong potential leads, they aim to obtain a clear information of must have and good to have features. So, they want to focus on value propositions on so now they know from a generic survey of week 1 that many of the individuals are, majority of the individuals are really looking forward to such a repository, but what are the must and good to have features, and also define, they want to define an app development roadmap based on these inputs as they go along. So, typically what they have looked at from an app structure standpoint based on initial market research and some inputs, they want to have a registration followed by the interface for the patients would basically have the scheduling and the patient chart which has the patient data, demographics, medical history and other docs. Interface for the doctors will basically have the patient portal somehow accessible along with the healthcare professionals clinical notes as well as the billing information. So, the new value additions with that was some kind of pharmacy based prescription order, test results and invoices which can be kept along the other details like in the repository. So, that is like the basic overview of the app structure. So, this is how the app kind of looked over through the low fidelity stages. So, with this I would like to thank you. This is all for the session. Hopefully, you have learned something. We will see you next time for the next class, right. Thank you.